Morning everyone. Saturday 19th of April, UK, back to normal. Easter weekend, overcast, light rain, muggy, everything, you know, usual summer. Just out with the boys, just going to do a bit of training up here with them. Thought I'd make part 2 of the videos around just dog services really. I made one the other day on dog walkers, and I had pretty good feedback. So today, video might be a bit longer because it's 3 parts. It's boarding kennels, home boarding and pet sitters. I'm standing by the tree because it's quite windy, so I hope people can hear this when they listen back to it. So like with everything, this is for the UK people, because obviously laws in other countries are slightly different. So I'll start with boarding kennels. When I used to have the other spaniels before these, I used to take my dogs to kennels when I went on holiday. And I always feel like when you go to look around the kennels, it's a bit like when you're buying a house. Sometimes you go in, it feels right, it probably is right, because you just get that vibe off the kennels. So anyway, I'm not going to mention any businesses that I use them with, but the one time I went away, the kennels I normally use were full, so I used a different kennels on a recommendation. And basically that was the last time I kennelled my dogs. They fed them the wrong food, they overfed them, and when I picked them up for like 5 days after, they had horrendous diarrhea. And I said never again. So from that point, and we're talking 10 to 15 years now, I have a pet sitter come to my house when I go away. Or I go away in the UK and I take dogs with me. So, when it comes to boarding kennels, I think you've got to have a look round. You've got to get the vibe for the place. Obviously, cleanliness has got to be the first thing. If you get to the reception and ask to have a look round and they say no, then I would probably turn around and walk straight back out the door. It's like everything, they've got nothing to hide, they'll let them take it around. Most kennels will let you have a look round. Sometimes a lot of people prefer the small kennels, like that only take 10 to 12 dogs, but those are pretty much gone now because it's such a booming business, because everyone wants to go on holiday. You know, these kennels are 40, 50 kennels, they're just full all year round. It's just madness. But anyway, if I was going to a boarding kennels for these two, I'd go and obviously make an arrangement to go meet them. I'd ask to look round. If they were kind enough to show me look round, I'd have a look at, like, ask them how often the kennels were cleaned. Well, I don't think every day, but I'd ask. How often do they exercise is the big one, because some places will say, oh, they get 4 runs a day. Well, I have spoken to people who work in kennels and they have said that's absolute rubbish. What you've got to bear in mind is if you've got a boarding kennels, they've got 50, 60 dogs. There is no way they can run all those dogs 4 times a day. You're looking at twice a day maybe. For how long? 20, 30 minutes? That's fine. So the other side of it is you've got to ask, with these two, you know, they can go in together, so it's only costing one. But when I had my other dogs, I had a male and a female, they were never in together. I just had to pay for separate kennels, which is fine. Again, I don't mind paying it if it's good. But you've got to also ask, can they be exercised separately? Now, if you've got a dog that's reactive, or is a bit grumpy around dogs, or an older dog that doesn't want a puppy jumping over it, they got to facilitate the fact that you might want to walk that dog, get that dog out on its own. And that's something else you need to ask. Can they facilitate that? Because at the end of the day, when you leave your dog in kennels, it's not a case of drop it off and let them crack on. It's a case of you're leaving your dog with them to try and keep some sort of stability around how they behave and what they're allowed to do. You're going to have a few problems because they're probably going to have a lot of barking going around and they might come back to the house a bit barky. But that's all very straightforward. But if you've got an elderly dog that likes to be plod round a field on its own, and then suddenly they put it in a field with 6 or 7 dogs instead of 5, the chances are something may or could go wrong. So if that was a boarding kennels, that's the sort of things I'd be looking at. Also things like drop off and pick up. You know, do they charge? Are they quite flexible? Like, as long as you drop them off on the set time, between the set times on a day, and then pick them up, do they charge you extra? So like if you drop them off in the morning, but the following, say, just for argument's sake, the following Monday you come back and you want to pick up in the evening, are they going to charge you for a whole day on the Monday, or is it all in with the cost? Just little things. It's just little things. Like I say, most kennels that my clients use are all get fab reviews, and I'm glad to that, because, you know, it's a massive trust. To leave your dog with somebody else is a massive trust. Now, probably the hot potato in the UK right now. Home from home dog boarding. So the first thing I'm going to say, again, if somebody posts on social media, if you're going holiday, you want me to look after your dog, drop me a message. Like, take a look at yourself, give your head a wobble. If you're going to use that person, you need to have a long look at yourself and your relationship with your dog, because in the UK, or in England especially, to do home dog boarding, you need to be licensed by the local council. They do numerous checks on you. They ask you numerous questions. It's a 2.5 hour visit. If you go on this, if I was in Gloucester, if you go on the City Council website under environmental health, you can look at the names of all the companies in Gloucester that are licensed. If they're not on that list, like, why would you leave your dog with them? Just because it's 10 quid a day cheaper? Yeah, it might be. But when you come back and something's gone horribly wrong, your vet's bill's £3,000, and then they find out they got no insurance, that's on you. Like I said about the dog walkers, no point pointing a finger of blame. Do your research before you leave your dog. So it's quite simple. If you're going to leave your dog in a home from home environment, they have to be licensed. No ifs, buts or maybes. That's how it is. Again, if you go to somebody who's licensed, you know, most of them will only have a couple of dogs at a time, be just your dogs at one time. They might have their own dog. If they've got their own dog, you need to ask questions like, is it friendly? Does it get on with dogs? If it's an elderly dog and you're leaving a puppy, you might say, you know, there's all these things. But most people are licensed. They'll tick all the boxes you want because they've answered all these questions with the council. Obviously, whether they do it or not is another thing, but they've said it right at the right time. When it comes to a pet sitter, which is what I use, so they're coming to my house to look after my dogs in my house, they don't need to be licensed. They need to have insurance, and I would suggest if somebody is going to stay in your house, you might want them to be DBS or CRB checked, whatever they call it now, because you don't want somebody in there you don't know if you can trust. I'm fortunate, the person I use, literally trust with my life. And that's it. You know, they are just unbelievable people. What would a good pet sitter be doing? If they're just going to say to you, I'll rock up on the day you go away, I'll look after your dog, blah, blah, blah. Again, to me, that's a red flag. So when I first got the pet sitter in I use now, they came round and met not with these dogs, with my other dogs. They came round and met them 3 times before I was going away. Got to know them, watched how I fed them, how much I feed them, how I feed it, make them wait to eat up. When they've eaten up, you know, how often they get walked, how do they get walked, where do they get walked, all these things, how often they need to get to the toilet. All these things were asked, so the day I got on in my car to drive to the airport, I was under no illusions. My dogs were being continued to be consistent in the environment they live in on a daily basis. Yes, I knew that I don't expect a pet sitter to come out and train them like I'm going to train these two in a minute. But I'd expect these dogs to come back when they call it, when they call them, and that would be it. I'd probably advise them the places I'd walk the dogs. And as I said to a numerous amount of people lately, if you're going away, you've got somebody come look after your dogs. If it's a family member, that's slightly different, I guess, but you've still got to be able to trust them. And if it's a pet sitter and your dog's recall isn't good, what would I do? I would probably spend a bit more money and I'd book a private field for an hour a day for the 7 days I'm away. And then your pet sitter can put your dog in the car, drive to that private field, take them in, take the lead off, run them for an hour, come back home. Your dog's not run off, it's not got lost, it's not been attacked or attacked another dog. There's no stress. You're going to enjoy your holiday more. It just makes sense. And a lot of places for a field's about 10 quid for 50 minutes. So yes, an extra 70 quid. But it'll cost you 60 quid, or maybe even 90 now. If your dog runs off and the dog warden finds it's going to cost you that to get it back. So you've saved yourself £20 if it's 90 quid. So it's all these little things, like plan ahead. Like you'll see posts even now where people are going, oh, you know, I'm going away next week and I've just been let down by my pet sitter. Well, the chances are, with the greatest respect, that if it's a good pet sitter who does it all the time, they haven't let them down. They're probably unwell. If it's a family member, they can let you down at a drop of a hat. It doesn't bother them, does it? So you've got to have a backup plan. You know, you've got provision for all this. I know of 2 pet sitters that I would use, and I would probably message them both at the same time asking what their availability is. And I'd also make sure that they both got each other's phone numbers, so whichever one I choose to use, if something goes wrong and the other one's free, they'll pop in. I got mates who would probably, at last ditch, will probably look after them. But again, you know, you don't want to put on people. For me, I think if you're in the sort of 18 to 22-year-old bracket right now and living at home still with mum and dad, you want to make some good money and you're trustworthy, I think getting start your business off as a pet sitter is a great way. You know, end of the day, if you come to live in my house, I don't expect you to have other people in. It's my house. It's just you and my dogs. You can go out, do your shopping, you can go out, you know. But if I've paid you to look after my dogs, I expect you to look after my dogs. Not go to the pub, go clubbing with your mates. You're there to look after. So if you're young enough, trustworthy enough, sensible enough, and can, you know, you want to earn some good money, there's some good money to be earned out there. There really is. You know, look have somebody, you know, because you're literally living in other people's houses. So it's like having a mini holiday. But you're looking, you know, 20 to 30 pound a day. Plus all the food to be left. You know, if they charge you £30 a day, if you're charging £30 a day, plus they're paying for your, they've left you a house full of food, which I do when for my pet sitter, house full of food, everything, you know, there, then, and if they want cash, I'll pay cash. £200 a week. Just go and live in someone's house and walk their dogs once a day, twice a day, whatever they want. But anyway, that's what I would do with pet sitter. You know, that's the things you've got to look at. It's a big business in the UK, quite simply because, as you can see by today's weather, our weather is shite. So people want to go abroad and get some sun. So they'll go on holiday, so they need the services more. That's the way it works. They get the services, so like boarding kennels. I imagine boarding kennels from now till probably October are full. Home from home boarding, probably full, unless they get a cancellation. Pet sitters, again, proper good ones, I'd imagine they're probably full. I don't intend to go abroad this year. I might have a break. Might take, you know, get a cottage in Wales or something, and I'll take dogs with me. So it's this for me this year, it's not a problem. But it's all these little things to think about. Like I say with everything, you've got to plan this like this is your children. You know, if you're saying this dog is part of my family and I love this dog to bits, don't do it half cock. Don't do half a job. Don't just leave it with any Tom, Dick or Harry, because if it goes wrong, there is no point blaming anyone but yourself, and it will break your heart if it goes majorly wrong. Because anyone that's ever owned a pet and had to have it put to sleep when it's unwell is traumatic enough. But you imagine being on holiday and something going wrong and you're not there because you've left it in the hands of somebody who was just 10 quid a day cheaper. Ain't worth it, people. But as always, if anyone's got any questions, if anyone's got any thoughts on this, wants to put any input into it, I'm more than willing. I just, off the top of my head, what I would do. But that's what I would do if I was doing it. Everyone's different, you know. If you've got dogs like these two who literally can't keep their tails still because they're waiting to go, you might want to look for kennels just out in the country a bit where they might have a bigger field to run them in, because they need the exercise. But it's just a case of do your research, take your time. For me, if you can afford to go on holiday, then you can afford to pay a bit extra for a decent kennels or a decent dog sitter or decent home boarding. You know, as I always say, sometimes you say buy cheap, you buy twice. Well, with dogs, you pay cheap once, you may never get a second chance. But anyway, that's my thoughts on this. I hope you could all hear me because it's a bit windy. Tomorrow we are, I'll probably make a video tomorrow. We'll probably look at dog trainers tomorrow. That could be a long video. But I'll update the page and I'll get this on there. Anyway, hope everyone has a great Easter weekend. The weather's not great, but enjoy it with your families. Give your dogs a cuddle from me, and I'll speak to you all soon.